Hello, and welcome to Inside the OPEX Method. This is your week 9 recap. I've got Carl here with me.
How's it
Yep.
going? Week 9. Let's go.
Week 9, we had a fun office hours chat today. I like how casual the Friday office hours are and just how it's a forum to kind of like open up whatever is top of mind for everyone. We went down some rabbit holes today on like offer presentation and like sales, as well as kind of digging into some of the marketing. But our focus this week was on developing kind of the foundation for our personal brand strategy with a focus on content. How do we really present ourselves through the content that we create and publish in a way that articulates our core values, articulates the value of the service that we offer, and really deeply connects to the target client that we want to attract through like a shared belief strategy. So that was the focus this week. And Tuesday we had lecture and we went deep on how to think about that, how to approach that. What does that mean in the state of the world today with the internet being as crazy as it is? And then on Thursday, we did a lab that was all around building what I call their coaching content signature, essentially is their personal brand content strategy, and went through a series of exercises to help them develop that. And I had a lot of fun just being able to, one, like flex my nerdy brand strategy muscles a little bit with people and get them to think creatively and do like a creative workshop, which felt really fun on Thursday. And
Yeah,
you
you
got to
crushed that.
participate, which was fun.
Yeah, you crushed that, Candace. Question for you. It made me, I don't know what made me think about this, honestly. But I think it's an interesting question. What would the difference be in the advice or how you would have taught the things that you just walked through today versus 10 years ago, but more to do with like the marketing ecosystem or culture or whatever inputs would change that output. Like how would what you taught this week have been different 10 years ago?
I don't know if I would have been as mature in my confidence level that that would be the right approach to craft your content strategy 10 years ago if I were the one teaching it where I was 10 years ago, because I think the last 10 years have really shaped my thoughts on like how do you just show up in a way that you feel genuinely confident in and proud of and that reflects who you are. And I think a lot of that comes from like personal growth. Um,
Can I
and
ask that
also use that
can I
technique.
ask that in a better way? Actually, I
Yeah.
didn't ask that effectively. Let's do it in an apples to apples way. So, Candace, you today know everything that you know today. You're
Yeah.
the same exact person. You have the same experiences, but we just like, is time travel a thing yet? We time traveled you back 10 years ago. Like, how would you have approached that differently just
Yeah.
based on like the marketing ecosystem and blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. 2015. So 2015, I think I still would have approached them developing their strategy from this perspective if I had been in the state of mind that I am in now. But I don't know. We haven't gotten into, well, next week we're going to get into like actually making the content and what that looks like in the marketing ecosystem that you're making things in, which shapes. But we did spend a lot of time this week talking about how things have shifted. Right. And so that if we go back to where it's a little more than 10 years, we started looking at where the internet was from 2000 to 2000 10-ish, right? And that was more of like that era of information where the leverage was access to information and distribution of information. So the content that people were creating back then to share their message was predominantly driven by long form written content in the form of blogs to organically rank well in search and be discovered that way. So the tactics I think would have changed. I would be teaching them a lot more about how to understand consumer behavior from a search perspective and to be able to create content that would appear in those results. Whereas today we've transitioned much more into this, what we've phrased as the era of attention, where everyone is competing on social media for the same finite amount of human attention, mostly through rich media, video content, and all the fatigue that that has created for not only the people creating the content, but for those consuming the content. We talked a lot about how because we've been going through this really, I would say more aggressively the last 5 years, but for the last 10, it's just changing, rapidly changing consumer behavior and all of technology. Obviously, AI has accelerated volume of content creation, skill level of content creation, people's ability to create quickly and also emulate what they see and think is working. And so therefore we get a lot of copycat, or a lot of everything just starts to feel the same, sound the same, be presented the same. People rinsing and repeating different hook formulas, or, scripting things very similar ways. And then it becomes very challenging to break through. And it also makes the content that people are sharing very skippable, right? Because people who are consuming content rapidly are browsing their feeds, they're looking for something novel, they're looking for something that breaks through and stands out to stop them. And nothing really does, because most people are sort of rinsing and repeating what they think is working versus trying to find a way to just show up uniquely as themselves and break through.
Got it.
Because obviously that's scary, right? Like, it's scary to
Yeah.
show your true colors.
Yeah. What's the through line? Like, what's the same, what was the same 10 years ago that is the same today and will be the same 10 years from now? Based on,
Yeah.
but keep it to like what you focused on this week, of course, because I know we could go like really wide.
Yeah. We talked about the importance of understanding that personal brand um, is, up to 20 times more effective at driving connection and trust, especially in digital content, than like a business brand. So, even for us, right, as the faces behind OPEX and Coach RX, it's important for us to develop a component of personal brand that then has a halo effect over onto the business brand, right? And for coaches, which they're a service-based business, they are really selling the trust, right? The trust is the currency that they are producing. And their ability to do that through the content is, they have so much advantage and opportunity to be able to do that today. But
Mhm.
that means understanding how to show up. And so we focus a lot on treating content and marketing like training. It's a skill that we're going to get better at rep by rep. We're going to put in quality effort with every piece of content that we create, but we're going to not just create from a whim and what we're feeling that day. We're going to create from a really sound place and a solid strategy, which the way that I teach that is through understanding yourself very deeply and understanding your target audience beliefly, understanding your target audience very clearly, and connecting through the values that you both share,
Yeah.
or the shared belief. And in doing so, creating a really deep form of trust. Um, because when you connect with someone through beliefs, you already start to feel a deeper level of understanding with that person. So the coaching content signature framework that we went through is all about understanding, what is it that you believe as a coach? What are those core beliefs that drive everything you do in your coaching practice? Um, so what you believe is the main element of that framework. What you talk about, right? Through the lens of, what are the things that are most interested, or your target audience is most interested in, their pain points, their frustrations, the frictions, the things they have to overcome, the things that they're searching for at 10 p.m. when they should be sleeping. Um, and where that overlaps with what you believe is an opportunity for your unique perspective on that topic to shine through, and for you to connect with them in a way that is different than anyone else might connect with them, because it's how you feel and what you believe about that particular topic. And then we talked a lot about the third element of the framework, which is the style and tone in which you show up. And that can be reflected in a lot of ways through the energy that you bring from just like a presence perspective. It could be the way and the style in which you film and shoot. Like your vibe right now is a little bit more moody than mine, because I've got a brighter light on me, which reflects a different energy than just from a visual perspective, right? Like looking at us on this split screen live, like there you can feel something, you can say something. So we
Mhm.
talked about the importance of that, and how all of those areas overlap. There's a lot of unique opportunity for anyone to show up uniquely them, and in a way that feels um, personal and builds rapport in a way that is authentic to who you are. So you don't feel like content is performative. It's just you being you, and actually coaching through your content, communicating your perspective, your beliefs around those topics of interest, and driving connection, and hopefully creating a bingeable body of work that someone can dive down and spend time with you and get to know you, build affinity and familiarity, and then be ready to take that next step and kind of pre-qualify themselves before they are ready to sign up for coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like, looking back at, the education that I've done and led and so on and so forth, it's like it's easy for me, Candace, because I'm teaching coaches things that they want to know. You know what I mean? Like a coach is like, "Oh, I want to coach because I want to build relationships with people. I want to write programs, blah, 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 blah." Right? For you, it's like different, right? It's like it's almost like and I don't want to put like this thought in people's brains, but I think a lot of people think of marketing as a necessary evil. Some coaches think it's an unnecessary evil, wrongly. Um, but like, how do you get a coach excited about the things that you talked about this week? You know what I mean? Like, how do you get a coach as excited as they are to learn about program design, about marketing, and how do you build bridges between the things that they're excited about in program design and carry that over to marketing themselves and building a brand and all that?
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel that friction. I think it depends on, I think generationally, it like, how long have you been coaching? How established are you in your business? How old are you? Right. You might have a very different feeling about the thought of building a personal brand and creating content if you're in your like, 18 to 30 versus like 30 plus, right? I think generationally we have different perspectives on it too. But ultimately, I think I shared this with the coaches. I said, I know you're not motivated by being internet famous. I know you're not motivated by like going viral on Instagram, right? That's not why you're a coach. You're a coach because you care deeply about having impact on people, and you want to have the most impact that you can. You you also love the craft of coaching and you want to master it. And that's a lot of the reason people join the OPEX method, because they want to go deep with you and understanding all of the principles behind program design and lifestyle design and coach client relationships and how to strengthen those relationships and how to have long-term success. Like they get hyped up about that and they geek out about that.
Mhm.
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, they care about impact, they care about mastery. And I believe that if you can get yourself in a workflow with content that's sustainable and that you actually can create enjoyment around, but you're optimizing for impact and mastery, content is a monetizable way for you to actually evolve as a coach, because you are forced to get really clear on your perspective. You're forced to get really clear on how you communicate the principles and how you articulate them and how you facilitate the education process for a client. And we also talked a lot about, creating content isn't necessarily only acquisition, because there's a lot of ways in which that body of work that you create can serve your existing client base more deeply. So I think that there was a lot of like head nodding at that moment, because
Yeah.
again, they're not motivated by being internet famous. They can have more impact this way because they can potentially coach a heck of a lot more people that might never become their clients, but could positively influence the behaviors that someone has through their content. And then, of course, they can refine their coaching skills, refine the way that they communicate. And obviously, communication is a part of being a central part of being a great coach. And then it has the ability to create lead flow for them, and in turn, create additional revenue opportunities. So hopefully that got them inspired.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like I painted with a broad brush when I said like most coaches don't want to dig in or lean into marketing. But the reality is there are a lot of coaches that actually do want to. Because you mentioned it might be like a generational demarcation. I think it's more of a personality type demarcation because, you know, people, I'll use the term cult, right? Like people have been cultish forever. And I don't mean like cult in a bad way, right? Like if we look at
Yeah.
like the, definition of a cult, right? It's like, it's a group of people that have devotion to a person, an idea, an object, whatever that is, and there's always a cult leader, right? So we've had cult leaders forever, right? So there's always people that like want to be like, hey, look at me, right? And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. There's actually a couple coaches in our group now where, if I had to put them into a bucket, they would actually probably fall into not a cult leader, but wanting to be more like, hey, look at me, I want to build something, I want to build this personal brand. But a lot of them just don't have the tools to do it, right? And like you're teaching them like, hey, this is how you build it, and this is how you build it properly. And I guess I should do this properly. But by properly, all I mean is aligned, right? And that goes back to what you talked about this week in regards to like, what do you believe? We brought PVMVP into the conversation, all that stuff. So that's that bridge, right? It's like, to do it properly is to do it with honesty and being genuine about it, right? So that was like I don't know, almost like the through line of like, to me, like what is good marketing? It's probably honest, right? And it's probably
Creates
reflective
connection
of,
and belonging.
yeah, it's reflective of what the person is going to get, how they're going to feel, so on and so forth. Because someone could be a great marketer and a terrible deliverer of whatever their service is, and that's not going to end up well, right? So I really like how you're approaching this, Candace, where you're just like, no, 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 understand who you are as a coach, understand who you want to work with, understand that target market that you walk through exhaustively on Tuesday, right? And people had to like really think about that on Thursday. And then build your service offering, your brand, your marketing, whatever we want to put there around that because it's genuine. And you kind of see like people relax when they hear marketing from
Yeah.
that standpoint. It's just like, and you've said this forever, right? It's just like, no, you just be you, right? You be you. And you're going to attract the people that you're going to attract, and you're not going to attract the people that you're not going to attract,
And
right?
that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I think
um,
too, like a lot of uh, whenever you do this kind of work where you're like positioning yourself because you are the product at the end of the day as the coach. Like, yes, the results are the outcome, but like people are putting their trust in you to get them to that outcome when they're signing up with you. There's this like feeling of like maybe that imposter syndrome kind of feeling where it's like, well, who am I and how am I different? And is what I really offer that different from other coaches? And of course, like there's a huge level of advantage because they're going through this program, they're learning the OPEX method. The method in itself elevates the service offering to a place where there's already so much differentiation that I think they can take comfort in the fact that that is there for them. But then, of course, there's always those awkward feelings around like exposing what it is you believe and your unique perspective and how how you are really a market of one. Like you are the only you and you're the thing that they're purchasing. So I think just helping them think through, well, it's actually not that hard to differentiate yourself because you have strong opinions.
yep,
And although culturally sometimes we go through periods of it not people not feeling like they can express their opinion, right? Hopefully, we we're in the U.S. Not all of our coaches are in the U.S., but we do have freedom of speech. We do have freedom of thought. We do have freedom of expression, and your thoughts and opinions and values are yours. And there are other people who will align and have a connection to you because of that. And so that I think does take the pressure off because you're like, okay, now I understand how I can differentiate myself. Now I know it's not necessarily about me constantly acquiring these new certifications to differentiate myself. It's not only the education, right? It's
yep,
the way in which I care about the client and how I treat the client and who I am as a person, the personality that I have, and how that connects with the client too.
yep. Love it. Awesome. One last thing I want to ask Candace, ask you to share. So you walk through like those three phases. Do you remember that? You walked through like the three phases that we've gone through in marketing
Oh, like the
in
internet.
Tuesday, yeah, in Tuesday's lecture. Can you just like in 60 seconds kind of hit that? Because I thought that was super interesting.
Oh yeah, I started to a little bit, but if we go like 2000 to 2010, we were in this like era of information. Basically the leverage was all around access to information, retrieval of information. So like coaches I think could win more effectively there online because they have so much knowledge and that knowledge really wasn't accessible. And so them just sharing what they knew was a way for people to identify them as an expert and be drawn to them. And then we are in this like messy phase from 2015 to now where it's again that era of attention where everyone is just fighting over the same, you know, limited amount of human hours that are spent scrolling, and they're doing extreme things to capture that attention or try to capture that attention. And it feels just very loud and same. And I think where we're going beyond 26, because of all of the fatigue that is happening around that on both the creator and the consumer side, we're entering this era where like perspective is going to be the leverage on top of information. And we still have to capture attention initially. But once that attention is captured, the thing that retains the attention is unique perspective. Um, yeah, that's going to help break through. And I think coaches are so skilled at being able to do that because it is in fact what they do with their clients every single day, helping their clients reframe something to see the possibility, helping their clients create clarity around whatever that obstacle is that they're navigating and get them from A to B in the most efficient manner with a lot of support. So coaches are armed with the skills, I think, to be able to really break through and win moving beyond 2025.
Yeah, so interesting. The reason why I wanted you to walk through that, well, a couple reasons. Reason number one is I think that that shows that you don't have to change who you are, what you believe, so on and so forth. But sometimes you have to adjust your delivery based on what's going to capture. Because you mentioned it, like the attention piece has to be there. If someone's not paying attention to you, then they're not going to know who you are, and you know that they could possibly be a client of yours. But secondarily, I think that that's really interesting the way that you laid that out, because I look at that from like a us as a company standpoint. And you can, like, we've lived through all of that, of course, right? Like think about, like, you know, the early success of James Fitzgerald. Why did James have so much early success? Because the guy is an absolute genius, right?
Yeah.
And he had so much knowledge to share, right? Like that's what attracted me to James. It was the knowledge. I didn't care if he caught my attention. I didn't care if he did anything and beyond that. You know, he had a lot more abilities and capabilities just beyond knowledge, but that's all I really cared about. And a lot of the market was drawn to that. Then we lived in this like dark ages of like, and I say dark ages, and it was dark. They were dark ages for us, right? Because we were like always battling, like, well, we're not like these, like, hey, look at me, I'm gonna like, you know, do the thing and just get a bunch of attention, but we were like the knowledge people, right? So we had some challenges, and then we, you know, Candace joined OPEX at that time, and Candace like allowed us and made us kind of evolve with the times. And then now we find ourselves, like you said, we're going into, I actually think we're in that era of perspective right now.
Yes.
And that's coming with a lot of bias for me. But I think we're in that era right now, because when I see, and we're a little bubble, right? So I have to be, you know, upfront about that. We're a bubble, but what I see connecting with coaches is just a perspective shift, right? Think about this a little bit differently, right? We're going to arm you with the knowledge and blah, 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 but just think about it a little bit differently. And then you see just eyeballs open up so wide, right? So I think we are, or at least I hope we are in that stage of, it was perspective, right? That's what you called
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
I
think,
debated on like connection versus perspective because I think like ultimately the outcome we want to achieve is connection, but I think that initially happens through the perspective. And to your point, James was so ahead of his time because yeah, he was a unique person who curated a ton of knowledge, acquired a ton of knowledge and was able to disseminate it well. But he always disseminated it with really unique perspectives and frameworks, just like
mhm,
you do in the show. It's that becomes a different level of intellectual property because yeah, he might have said say things that other people he studied under had said or things he learned from them, but the way that he packaged them to be able to transfer that knowledge to someone else was so unique.
yeah,
So maybe we're even in this place where it's kind of like a throwback in, to some
yeah,
extent for us.
yeah. All right. I'm killing your time. Thanks for that. What are we doing next week? What are we talking about?
Next week, we are gonna do a little bit of both. I think a hybrid approach. We're going to talk a little bit about the infrastructure that is required in an ideal world for online demand generation to be possible for coaches to have more lead flow mechanisms than just the relationships that they have in real life, right? And obviously, most coaches are really reliant on a referral based strategy because they're so effective at delivering. the services that they do and getting such great results that ends up being their primary mechanism. But we want to create more opportunity for them to be able to grow their businesses to whatever extent they feel is appropriate. And we're also going to spend some time talking about offer development, offer packaging, and delivery, so that there's some more level of confidence there when it comes to articulating the value exchange that occurs when you're in a sales process.
Cool. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Me too. Thanks so much. And I guess I don't really have any announcements for the rest of the crew this week, other than if you missed Black Friday, I'm sorry. But enrollment is officially open for the January cohort of the OPEX method. We will be starting the next cohort on January 13th, but enrollment does close January 9th. So I know we're getting ready to go into a couple of crazy weeks of holidays, and people wanting to take some time to enjoy those holidays. You rightfully should enjoy those holidays. But I know if you're here and you're listening to this video or watching the replay, that you are a coach who truly cares about your business and the clients that you're serving, and doing that very well. So apologies, there's an Amazon person delivering to my house right now. So make sure that if you are at all interested in joining us in January, that you check out opexfit.com and jump on a call with our sales team, because they would love to just let you know a little bit more about the program on a deeper level and help you understand if it's the right opportunity for you. And then hopefully we will see you guys joining us live in the next cohort on January 13th.
Awesome.
Sorry about the
Candace.
dog
Appreciate
barking.
it.
Bye,
You're all
guys.
good. See ya.